in honor of Heritage Month. Zoë Modiga was born and raised in KwaZulu Natal, South Africa, is an artist and cultural practitioner who contributes to the rich diversity and heritage of South Africa's music. Drawing from the human experience, identity and storytelling, she creates a distinct sound to communicate a modern, evolving African story without losing its essence. Themes explored in her works and relevant to the shifting dynamics in South African society in a digital era. Now, to solidify our identity in a global sphere, she joins us to discuss culture, heritage and identity explored in Heritage Month. Zoë, thank you so much for your time and a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too, and I'm happy to be here, especially in celebration of the Heritage.
I'm thrilled that you're here. So your music and in essence your art has been described as transcendental. I mean, talk to us about the power of storytelling and how key it is to preserving legacy and authenticity.
Well, what comes to mind for me is that when we think about legacy, we think about something that's been passed on. It's not something that begins with us, but it's something that carries a lineage. So it comes from somewhere, and it's a baton that we're able to get and to pass forward. And I think that speaks to the power of storytelling. If we don't know what was before, how are we to know where to take it from? How are we to know what is and what is to be? And I think what is very prevalent in heritage and in culture conversations is the importance of storytelling in the ways that it's able to document, in the ways that it's able to reflect the times. We're able to then see the way in which people before us lived and the way in which we live and how we continue to build on what heritage and culture is.
You're currently touring at the moment, and I believe it is in an ode to your Engenakwane album, 3 years later. So let's talk a little bit about the tour. I know you call it Tros Tros Tour. So when we say Tros Tros at the end of a fairy tale, as an example, it means and it signifies an end of a chapter, a farewell, a goodbye of an era. So just talk to us about that and how you were able to tell your story and how your story has aided in this tour specifically.
I am so thankful for the past 3 years. Inganagwana was released in 2020, which was at the thick of the lockdown. And there was so much that we were all going through as a people. But I think one thing we were able to do is confront ourselves in conversations around identity, in conversations around being a Black person, being a Black life, the queer community, the femicides. There were so many conversations that I'm so glad that Inganegwane was a part of in that sense. And now 3 years later, we are ready to wrap the era up, to say thank you to all the music lovers for making our music the soundtrack to their lives, for dancing to it, singing to it, praying to it, healing with it. And it is the end. It is It is the end of an era, but it is the beginning of a new one. And we're excited to celebrate more of our story, more of the spaces that we hold for each other and the ways that we come through for each other and the stories that we tell.
In the album, what is the song for you that encapsulates, all of that you've just said in terms of, saying goodbye to an era with also such fondness? So if you had to belt out one of those songs just for a few seconds, which one would you pick?
Ngicela ningizwe kahle, ngifuna ukushintsha umhlaba. Nceba mina, ngine nceba mina, olento isekazini,
Wow,
that is what I'll sing.
Goosebumps. So you've been performing all across South Africa. You were in East London, in Durban, recently in Johannesburg. You're going to be going to Cape Town next month. Somebody actually wrote and said that if you have not attended one of your concerts, you have not lived. I admit I haven't lived, so I can't wait to attend one of those. But just talk to us about the meaning of culture heritage and identity for you, especially in this digital era? It must be difficult, especially as an artist, to try and just identify and make sure that you incorporate all of that.
Oh, goodness. I think for me, it always has been about looking at those before me. I'm a scholar of music, but I'm also a scholar of the human experience. And I think a lot of what heritage and culture conversations I've been a part of and grown up observing come from so many greats, such as Mamire Makeba, such as Huma Sigela, Mam Letambulu, Ubabu Kefa Simenya, Ubabu Huma Sigela. There's so many incredible custodians of this art form who've really solidified the times and who've reflected the times in their music and also shown the richness that we find in our culture and our heritage. And I think for me, it's just being able to take from that and realizing that culture is something that we come from, but it's also an ever-evolving thing that we are contributing to. So as a young person, and I'm sure young people who may be listening now, need to remember the fact that we are also contributing to culture on real time. Right now, we're at the Tostos tour, and I'm going to be sharing the stage with an incredible pianist called Kinan Meyer, who speaks so fondly of Abdullah Ibrahim, who's another cultural custodian. So I think it's constantly happening. We're constantly contributing to it, and we have the good parts of social media that are able to allow us to share it and to make the world smaller. So there's different people from all over the world that get to hear Isekazini, that get to hear songs by Kenan John Mayer, to name a few artists. So it really is quite a time to be alive. And as long as we're curious about who it is that we are, about our identity, about our heritage and our culture, I think we have something really beautiful to hold on to and to build on.
And that's a very important one because, we are finding ourselves, as Africans, questioning what our impact is, especially for Africans in Africa. And I really like what you've said in terms of just connecting with young people, particularly at a very challenging time in not only our country, but also in our continent. Just as a parting message, on Heritage Day, what are some of the things that you draw on, particularly because we always say we come from the shoulders of 10,000. You, of course, draw a lot of that from your heritage. Just talk to us about where you find that space to connect with your past.
I come as one into the space, but I stand as 10,000 in the ways that you put it now. I'm so grateful to be a part of something bigger. And I think the beauty of heritage is realizing that you are a part of something bigger and that there are so many hopes and dreams and lives and aspirations and ideologies that we actually inherit, and our bodies remember that. It really is in our DNA. And so really the thing is just to be curious. The more curious you are, the more answers reveal themselves to you, because whatever it is that you're looking for is already looking for you. And I think that is definitely my parting note. Let's continue to celebrate who it is that we are and engage with that on a South African level, on an African level, with the African diaspora. And let's just continue to celebrate our stories, document them, celebrate them, dance with them, sing with them, talk about them, wear them in our fashion and our clothing, and just show the world that we have something so beautiful to teach and so beautiful to offer.